And hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Ricky DAMIANO podcast. I am your host, Ricky DAMIANO. Today, we're going to be talking about the famous shipwreck of 1912, and that is the RMS Titanic. Before we can even talk about the maiden voyage, we got to talk about when she was building. Um, the plans was approved in 1908 on her design, and she's she's one of the two of three ships in the fleet because her sister ship, the Olympic, and the other sister is the Britannic. All three only two of them met their fate. The Titanic and the Britannic met their fate, but the Olympic was scrapped. So the Titanic was built started construction back in 1909. After being approved in 1908, they had to approve for the design. So she was built. Hey, Lipinski Vlogs, how you doing tonight? Welcome in. I mean, they had to approve for design but once they approved it, construction could begin in 1909. So, and then on May 31st, 1911, she rolled out in the Belfast Harbour. She was built in Belfast, Ireland, and in 1911 she was rolled. She slipped gracefully in the Belfast Harbour. She was the largest moving object ever made by man. She was, so then she began her maiden voyage in 1910. The last stop she made was pausing off the coast at Queenstown, Ireland. She brought in the last passengers. And remember, there's mostly Irish immigrants headed for new homes in America, but some of them never made it. Because and we'll talk about that on April 14th. That's part 2. This is part 1. I mean, and the thing is, she only had enough lifeboats for half the people aboard. She didn't have, she weighed, 45,000 tons, carrying far more passengers than 10,000 ton ship. Yet she had lifeboat provision for a 10,000 ton ship because they figured that lifeboats not be needed because they said she was an unsinkable ship. So they figured the lifeboats would not be needed, but and then again, she's a ship. No ship is unsinkable. No ship. I don't care what they say. No ship is unsinkable. Nothing's unsinkable. I mean, it's a ship on water. It's not. There's no way a ship's going to stay up. I don't care how you build her. Yeah, she had a double 4 and 15 bulkheads. She didn't play watertight, but still, it's not. They're not. She's not designed. I don't care what they say. No ship, no boat will stay afloat. I don't care how good you make her. So that's what they thought. They thought that she was unsinkable at the time, and she wasn't. And I actually have a scale model of her that I'm going to get right here. This is this right here, everyone. Then I'm going to show you. This is the scale model of the Titanic. This is the scale model that I have of her, and you can tell how big she is. She would. I mean, she is to be. 183 feet long, 93 feet wide, and 11 stories high. I mean, if you were to turn her up like this, she would be tall. I'm taller than the Empire State Building. That's how tall she is. She's a tall, and you can see that she had 4 funnels, but only the one funnel was not active. This one was meant as a vent to allow air to go in. Only 3 of these worked. Only 3 of these actually worked. These 3 here actually worked. The fourth one was just like a vent. It didn't. It didn't really work. It was just a vent. But you can tell how big she is. You can tell how big she is. I mean, she don't even fit in the camera. That's how big she is. I mean, and that. But remember, these were not built for the wealthy passengers. They was built for the third class. That way, that's primarily. Primarily why these was built was for the third class passengers, so that way they can be coming transported to America. So that way, when they're in America, they can bring other members of family across. So that's why these ships was built. And she was the largest of her day. I mean, nowadays, she would have been a small baby compared to the cruise ships nowadays. But back then, but see, this was back in 1912, 1900s, where everything's rapidly changing. And have a ship like this, they actually call this ship the space shuttle of the earliest 20th century. They actually call it the space shuttle because being so big, because being so tall of its time, they called this and supposedly this was called the unsinkable ship, but really no ship is designed because no ship is designed for that. And she stopped off at Queenstown Island to bring in the last passengers. And you have to remember, White Star Line decided to make 3 of these, but only one of them actually survived. And that was the Olympic. That one survived. But there are controversies that the ship that I'm holding right now, they kind of, they said that they switched the name on it from, actually the Olympic was the Titanic, and Titanic here is the Olympic. They kind of switch the names, but I'm not making really. Ever have proved that. Prove that theory if that was real or not. So we really don't know if that was real or not, because because the Olympics sailed before Titanic was even done. She was just on blueprint. She wasn't even. She wasn't even thought of when the Olympic was on her voyage. So once the Olympic got damaged, so she was in the final stages of being built. She was in the final stages because she had her funnels outfitted, and then she was all the interior work done on her. So that's why she was. But once the main voyage began, then tragedy struck, and we'll talk about that on April 14th. We'll talk about part 2 to this. This is only part 1. But she was the largest ship of her fleet and her time, and the news reports back then said that this ship was on the nightmare scale. Because of her name, Titanic. That was. They say it was a tragedy waiting to happen. They said that was on a nightmare scale, and that something was going to happen. Something bad was going to happen to her, and it did on April 14th. And we'll talk about that in part 2 of this. on April 14th, on Tuesday, we'll talk about this on April 14th on part 2 on the sinking of but right now, and it's like, but yeah, I mean, and the crow's nest would have been right here, up here. Oh, right here, the crow's nest would have been. Actually, yeah, the crow's nest would have been right here. To the lookouts was to watch for icebergs, and that, and it's, and she actually had three rudders. She had the main rudder. She had the main rudder right here, and then she had two other rudders right here that controlled her. That controlled her. She had steam engines. See, she didn't have the modernized one like the one coming up in 2027 does, like Titanic 2. She had only steam engines. She didn't really have. She was, I mean, done by four reciprocating high steam engines. I mean, size of three-story house. They had them the size of a three-story house. She was powered by steam. But see, back then, no, actually, she was powered by coal. Um, she was powered by coal, but the other two ships gave what coal they had, so she can do her main voyage, since there was no coal to be found anywhere on Great Britain. So they decided to cancel the other two sailings of the other two ships, the Oceanic and Adriatic, and transfer what coal they had over the Titanic. So the Titanic would have enough fuel for her main voyage, and there'll be no need to postpone the main voyage any further. And those passengers on those other two ships that I mentioned was transferred over to the Titanic, so that way they can go on their trip, or whatever, they can continue their trip that they wasn't going to do on the other two ships. But they had to cancel those two because the coal they had to give to her, so that way she can go on her main voyage on April 10th. But yeah, this is the full size replica of the Titanic. But I mean, it was actually the luxurious ship on the North Atlantic, and it was a shame that she didn't get to stay up. I mean, it's a shame that she sunk in 1912. I mean, but I mean, she took a lot of passengers with her. I mean, it was. I mean, I. I mean, actually, Edward J. Smith came from the Olympic after she got done with her voyage. They gave him the helm of the Titanic, so that way Titanic will be able to have captain and sail to. I mean, she was expected to reach New York within 7 days. She was expected to reach New York by on April 14th, but I mean, tragedy struck in the North Atlantic. I mean, after hitting that, I mean, iceberg. And we'll talk about that in the April 14th one. But I mean, I mean, we have any questions about it, or if anybody want. I mean, did anybody see the Titanic movie? I'm 97 with James Cameron. Did anybody see that one? I mean, that one shows two of what. I mean, that one has the actual ship too at the beginning that they go down to. I mean, but yeah, that's the full size replica of her. I mean, but she only had. I mean, not everybody made it off though. I mean, she only had lifeboats for about. But see, back then there was no law on how many lifeboats you needed. So I mean, she was a 10,000 ton ship carrying far more. She was weighed 45,000 tons, carrying far more passengers than a 10,000 ton ship. Yet she had a lifeboat provision for a 10,000 ton ship, and that's because they want to make enough room for the passengers and not have all these ships in the way. but they have all these lifeboats in the way. I mean, they want the decks to be cluttered. They wanted the decks to be open. I mean, convenient for the passengers to be able to walk down the deck and have to worry about bumping into lifeboats. I mean, and as the lifeboats, they can weigh, they can carry 65 people, but they can carry only. I mean, that day was tested with a weight of 17 men, so those lifeboats was strong enough to carry 65 people, but mainly women and children. Back then, they had only women and children back then first. And we'll talk about that on part two of this. But I mean, they had had planned her design. They had to get approved. I mean, she had it took them 2 years to build her with over 3,000 men. Carpenters, artists, and steelworkers were employed. Over 3,000. Over 3,000. No, huh? But yeah, I mean, they had over 3,000 people on her on doing the work on her, and it was. They didn't get done until you figure May 31st, 1911, when she rolled into Belfast, Harbor. I mean, so it took them 2 years to get her done, but and there's only 24 known survivors alive today. It was only 24 known, but the last one finally died. Well, the last one passed away. I think what was it, last year? Or was it? I think if it was last year or if it was back in 2023. Or Last Survivor, when the last survivor passed. But yeah, I mean, there was 24 known survivors, but and we'll talk about that on the 14th on that. But the thing is, I mean, that's and one of more details on why the funnels fell off, and why they fell off and stuff. Why then they and also why does she not stay in one piece like the movie, the like Ray's Titanic shows? But we'll talk about that on the 14th and more in depth on that on the 14th. But yep. Let's see. What do we have next on there? She went from Cherbourg, France, to Queenstown. And that was the last time anybody saw her up. And that was the last time, she ever saw daylight, because she sailed off to, she sailed off into, history, and not be photographed again for 73 years. Vanishing all the human memory. Yep. But let's see. That it's just that. But this is for the ones who. Let's see, the ones who did not see her. For the ones who are just joining us, who did not see, this is the replica. This is the replica of the Titanic. This is the full size scale of her. This is and only the 3 funnels worked. The 4th one here was just a vent that allowed air to come in to there. You had the grand staircase right here, and that's of course the bridge right here. and the crow's nest would have been right here. You see the crow's nest, fell apart on me. But I mean, this is where the crow's nest would have been. I mean, had the crow's nest, the lookout tower that they used to put out into the night. I mean, and these are all the lifeboats here. Up here, there's all lifeboats here. They got some on the backside. They got some right here. They got some on the backside. They got some on that side. That goes all the way back. But yeah, I mean, this was a big ship. I mean, this was a big ship, and that, and you see how the funnel, is kind of coming off of here. This is a very old ship. I had this for years that I put together, and that I put the ship together here, and that's like, but yeah, but I mean, that's okay. We are going to wrap things up for now here on the podcast. But tune in on the. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications, and make sure you be back here Tuesday, April 14th at 7 p.m. for part 2 of the Titanic tribute, part 2. Since this week is her birthday, Titanic's birthday, I decided to do this. I decided to do this tribute on here. On my podcast here. So, thank you to everybody who's watching, and comment down. Comment down in the comments of where you're watching from, and I see everybody here online, and I see everybody here. Talking about listening to a piece of history. This is taking you guys back in time, the 1900s, and that. So that's about all the time we have for today's episode. So tune in on April 14th at 7 p.m. for part number 2 of the Titanic tribute. So thank you to everybody who came in, and I will see you in the next episode. Peace.